The November wind cut through Boston like a knife as Claire Bennett hurried through the dark streets, her small suitcase bumping against her leg with every step. 23 years old, and everything she owned fit into one battered bag. Behind her lay the brownstone apartment where her stepmother Victoria had made her life a living nightmare. Ahead stretched only uncertainty and fear. But anything was better than staying another day in that prison of cruelty. Claire pulled her thin coat tighter, but it did little against the bitter cold. Inside her suitcase, she carried her mother's pearl necklace, 3 changes of clothes, $200 in crumpled bills, and a leather notebook filled with her dreams of becoming a singer. It seemed pathetic that an entire life could shrink down to so little. But Victoria had made sure Claire never had much to call her own. Years of suffering. Her father had been a good man once, or so Claire remembered from her childhood. He had encouraged her singing, paid for voice lessons, and promised she would perform on grand stages someday. But when Claire was 14, her mother died in a car accident, and her father crumbled under the weight of grief. Within a year, he married Victoria Chen, a woman who seemed sweet at first but revealed her true nature the moment the wedding ended. For 9 long years, Victoria systematically destroyed everything Claire loved. First, she canceled the voice lessons, claiming they were too expensive. Then she sold the upright piano Claire's mother had cherished, saying they needed money for bills. She isolated Claire from her friends, criticized every choice she made, and turned her father against her with lies and manipulation. When Claire's father passed away from a sudden heart attack 6 months ago, things became unbearable. Victoria inherited the apartment and announced she was moving to California with her boyfriend. Claire, she declared coldly, would be sent to live with distant relatives who had already made it clear they wanted nothing to do with her. That night, Claire made her decision. She would rather face the unknown than accept another cage. The collision lost in thought about where she might sleep tonight. Claire stepped off the curb without noticing the traffic light. The blare of a car horn snapped her back to reality, but too late. A silver Audi skidded on the wet pavement, its brakes screaming. Claire tried to jump back, but her foot caught on the curb edge. The car's fender barely grazed her side, but the shock sent her stumbling backward. Her suitcase flew open, spilling her belongings across the rain-soaked street. The driver's door burst open immediately. A tall man emerged, moving with controlled urgency despite the downpour. He wore an expensive charcoal gray suit that was getting ruined by the rain, but he seemed unconcerned. His dark brown hair was plastered to his forehead, and his hazel eyes held genuine worry as he rushed toward her. "Are you hurt? Please stay still while I call for help." His voice was deep and commanding, the kind of voice used to giving orders and being obeyed. "Hey, no, please. I'm okay." Claire scrambled to gather her scattered things, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. The rain had soaked through her coat completely, and she was shivering violently. "It was my fault. I wasn't watching where I was going." Unexpected kindness, the man knelt beside her on the wet pavement, helping collect her belongings despite his expensive suit. His hands paused when he picked up her notebook, and Claire saw him glance at the song lyrics she had written before, carefully closing it and handing it back to her. "You write music?" he asked, his tone softer now. "Try to. It's just a hobby." Claire stuffed everything back into her suitcase, avoiding his intense gaze. Up close, she could see he was probably in his mid-30s, with strong features and an intensity that was both intimidating and strangely comforting. "Let me at least drive you home. You're soaked and shaking. Where do you live?" The words escaped before Claire could stop them. "I don't have a home anymore." She bit her lip, cursing her honesty. The man studied her face with an expression she could not read. Recognition of something, though they had never met before. "My name is Nathan Pierce. I have an apartment nearby. You can get warm, dry off, and we can figure out what to do next. I promise I mean you no harm." A difficult choice every instinct screamed at Claire to refuse. Accepting help from a strange man was dangerous and foolish. But something in Nathan Pierce's hazel eyes held genuine concern rather than anything predatory. And the alternative was wandering the rainy streets until she collapsed from cold and exhaustion. "Claire Bennett," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rain. "And I don't have anywhere else to go." Nathan's expression softened. "Then let's get you out of this weather. His apartment was located in one of Boston's luxury high-rises, the kind of building Claire had only seen from the outside. The living room had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the glittering city skyline. Modern furniture in shades of cream and navy gave the space an elegant but lived-in feel. Everything looked expensive, yet somehow welcoming, as if someone actually lived and breathed in these rooms. The guest bathroom is down that hall. "First door on your left," Nathan said, removing his ruined jacket. "There should be fresh towels in the cabinet. I'll find you some dry clothes, though they'll probably be too large. We can figure out something more permanent tomorrow." "Why are you helping me?" Claire asked, still standing near the entrance, creating a puddle on the hardwood floor. "You don't know anything about me? Shared understanding?" Nathan turned to face her fully, and for a moment, Claire saw past the confident exterior to something wounded beneath. "Because someone helped me once when I had nothing. Because you remind me that not everyone has a safety net to fall into. And because," he paused, choosing his words carefully, "leaving you on that street would keep me awake at night." 30 minutes later, Claire emerged from the guest room wearing Nathan's oversized Boston University sweatshirt and sweatpants, her damp hair wrapped in a towel. She found him in the kitchen preparing hot soup on a professional-grade stove. "Sit down," he said gently, gesturing to the bar stools at the granite counter. "When did you last eat a proper meal?" Claire had to think about it. "Yesterday morning, I think. Maybe the day before?" Nathan's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. He simply placed a steaming bowl of soup in front of her with a spoon and crackers. As Claire ate, he prepared a bowl for himself and sat across from her. "So, Claire Bennett, who doesn't have a home?" he said quietly. "What's your story?" Something about his tone, about the warmth spreading through her body from the soup, the safety of being inside while rain hammered the windows made Claire's defenses crumble. She found herself telling him everything. Her mother's death, her father's hasty remarriage, Victoria's years of cruelty, having her dreams systematically crushed, her father's sudden death, and finally her desperate escape into the night. Nathan listened without interrupting, his hazel eyes never leaving her face. When she finished, silence filled the kitchen for a long moment. "I lost my mother when I was 21, he finally said. "Cancer. She loved music too. She used to say that singing was the soul's way of speaking when words were not enough." Claire looked at him with new understanding, seeing the shared grief that connected them. "Is that why you stopped to help me?" "Because you saw something of yourself in my situation." "Maybe," Nathan admitted, "but also because I see someone who has been broken by circumstances beyond her control, yet is still carrying her dreams forward. It takes real courage, Claire. More courage than most people ever need to find." Their eyes met across the kitchen counter, and something electric passed between them. Claire felt her breath catch, suddenly aware of how intimate this moment was. Sitting in a stranger's kitchen, wearing his clothes, sharing their deepest sorrows, Nathan seemed to feel it too. He stood abruptly, clearing their bowls. "You should rest. Tomorrow we can discuss your options. I might be able to help you find work, a place to stay, something stable. Why would you do all that for me?" Claire asked, standing as well. "You really don't know me at all?" Nathan turned from the sink, and the vulnerability in his expression took her breath away. "Because maybe helping you will remind me how to be human again. I've spent so long building walls around myself, protecting my heart, that I forgot what it feels like to simply care about someone without calculating the cost." Before Claire could respond, Nathan's phone rang urgently. He glanced at the screen and his expression hardened instantly, the vulnerable man disappearing behind a mask of cold professionalism. "I need to take this," he said curtly. "Business emergency. The guest room is yours for as long as you need it. We'll talk more in the morning." He strode toward his study, already speaking in clipped tones to whoever was calling. Claire stood alone in the kitchen, feeling the absence of his presence like a physical thing. She made her way to the guest room, which was larger and more comfortable than any room she had ever slept in before. As she climbed into the impossibly soft bed, Claire replayed the evening in her mind. The accident, Nathan's inexplicable kindness, the connection she felt despite knowing him for only a few hours. It was crazy. She should be planning to leave in the morning. She'd be terrified of trusting a stranger instead, for the first time in years. Claire felt something she had almost forgotten existed. She felt hope stirring in her heart, fragile but real. Like the first green shoots pushing through frozen ground after a long winter, Claire woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the rich aroma of fresh coffee. For a disorienting moment, she could not remember where she was. Then the previous night came rushing back, and she sat up quickly, her heart racing. Nathan Pierce, the accident, the penthouse apartment, everything felt like a dream, surreal to be actual reality. She found Nathan in the kitchen dressed in a crisp charcoal suit, reading something on his phone while sipping espresso. He looked up when she entered, and his expression softened in a way that made her stomach flutter with unexpected warmth. "Good morning." "I hope you slept well," he gestured toward the coffee maker. "Help yourself. I also had some clothes delivered for you. They're in the guest room closet. I took a guess on your size, so hopefully they fit properly." Claire stared at him in disbelief. "You bought me clothes?" "Borrowed them technically until you can shop for yourself." Nathan set down his phone, giving her his full attention. "Claire, I have a proposition for you. My executive assistant quit 2 weeks ago, and I desperately need someone organized, trustworthy, and discreet. The position pays well, includes full health insurance, and you could live here until you find your own place. You would be earning your keep, not accepting charity from me." "I don't have any experience as an assistant," Claire protested, though her heart was already leaping at the possibility of stability and independence. "But you have a college degree in music and literature, which means you can organize information, manage schedules, and handle complex tasks. You're clearly intelligent and articulate. The rest I can teach you as we go." Nathan's hazel eyes held hers steadily. "I'm offering you a real chance, Claire. Not a handout or pity, a genuine job opportunity. What you do with it is entirely up to you." Claire felt tears prickling her eyes. "Why are you being so kind to me?" "Because kindness should not be so rare that it requires explanation," Nathan said simply. "So, do you accept the position?" "Yes." The word came out as a whisper. "Yes, thank you so much." Learning a new world over the next 3 weeks, Claire threw herself into her new role with fierce determination. Nathan was demanding but always fair, expecting excellence but providing all the tools and guidance needed to achieve it. She managed his complex schedule, screened his calls, organized his files, and slowly began to understand the impressive empire he had built from nothing. Nathan Pierce was the founder of Pierce Solutions, a consulting firm that helped struggling companies restructure and thrive. At 36 years old, he was worth millions, commanded respect in boardrooms across the country, and maintained a reputation for brilliance and integrity in equal measure. But Claire was beginning to see beneath that polished, professional exterior. She noticed how he never raised his voice at employees, even when they made mistakes, how he remembered small details about their lives and asked about their families, how he donated anonymously to music programs for children who could not afford lessons. He worked 14-hour days not from greed but from a driving need to prove himself worthy of his success and to help others succeed as well. And he was lonely, desperately, achingly lonely in his glass tower above the city. Growing closer, their evenings fell into a comfortable routine that, after work, they would share dinner and conversation. Nathan asked about her music, genuinely interested in her dreams and aspirations. He encouraged her to use the beautiful grand piano in his rarely used formal living room, a gift from his late mother that he admitted he could barely look at for years. The first time Claire sang for him, she chose an old folk song her mother used to sing, her voice filling the room with bittersweet melody. She watched Nathan's eyes close with an expression of such profound emotion that she nearly stopped singing. When the final notes faded into silence, Nathan opened his eyes, and she saw they were bright with unshed tears. "My mother used to sing that exact song," he said quietly, his voice rough with emotion. "I have not heard it in 15 years. Thank you for giving that memory back to me." Something shifted between them that night. The boundaries of employer and employee began to blur into something deeper, more complicated, and thrilling. Claire caught herself watching him when he was not looking, noticing the strength in his hands, the intelligence in his eyes, the rare smile that transformed his serious face into something breathtaking, and Nathan, though he tried desperately to maintain professional distance, found himself drawn to Claire in ways that both thrilled and terrified him. Her laugh, her passion for music, her resilience in the face of terrible hardship, everything about her called to the parts of himself he had locked away years ago. The shadow of the past for weeks after Claire started working for Nathan. Everything changed in an instant. Claire returned from a coffee run to find an elegantly dressed woman waiting in Nathan's office. She was stunning, with sleek black hair, cold blue eyes, and a designer dress that probably cost more than Claire made in 3 months. "You must be the new assistant," the woman said, her tone dripping with barely concealed contempt. "I'm Olivia Grant, Nathan's former fiancée. We need to talk about some unfinished business." Claire felt her stomach drop like a stone. "Mr. Pierce did not mention he was expecting anyone. Nathan and I don't need appointments, sweetheart. We have history." Olivia's smile was predatory and cruel. 3 years ago, we were planning our wedding. I made a terrible mistake that he could not forgive, but now I'm ready to make things right between us. True love always finds its way back, don't you think? Before Claire could respond, Nathan emerged from the conference room down the hall. His expression went absolutely cold when he saw Olivia standing there. "What are you doing here?" His voice could have frozen water solid. "I wanted to see you, to talk about us and what we once had." Olivia moved toward him with practiced grace. "Nathan, it's been 3 years. Surely you can forgive me now. What we had was special and rare. Adawada. What we had was built on lies." Nathan's jaw was tight with barely controlled anger. "You were sleeping with my business partner while wearing my engagement ring and planning our wedding. There is no us, Olivia. There never will be again. Don't be so dramatic and unforgiving. It was one mistake made in a moment of weakness. You've punished me long enough." Olivia's eyes flickered to Claire with cold calculation. "Or have you already replaced me with the help? How deliciously predictable you are." "Get out," Nathan said quietly, but with such intensity that Claire took an involuntary step backward. "Right now." Olivia's perfect facade cracked slightly, revealing the ugliness beneath. "You'll regret this, Nathan. I know things about you, about your patterns with women. How you rescue broken birds and discard them when they heal and fly away. Ask your new pet about the others before her. Ask her if she's truly special, or just another project to make you feel better about yourself." Confronting doubts after Olivia left, the office felt poisoned and heavy. Nathan stood with his back to Claire, his shoulders rigid with tension and old pain. "Is it true?" Claire asked quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Have there been others like me?" Nathan turned slowly, and the pain in his eyes made her chest ache. "There have been women I helped over the years. Yes, that's true. After Olivia, I threw myself into work and helping others. I funded scholarships, helped employees in crisis situations, donated to worthy causes. Some of those people were women who needed assistance at difficult times in their lives. But you," he stepped closer, his voice dropping, "you are not a project, Claire. You are not charity or an ego boost. Then what am I?" Sophie felt tears building behind her eyes. "You are the first person in 3 years who has made me want to feel again," Nathan said softly, taking another step closer. "Who has made me believe that maybe I could trust someone with more than just professional respect and boundaries. That terrifies me because I don't know if I'm strong enough to survive being wrong again about someone." Claire wanted to close the distance between them, to tell him she felt the same terrifying pull toward him, but Olivia's poisonous words echoed in her mind like a curse. Rescue broken birds and discard them when they heal. Was that what this was? Was she fooling herself into believing there could be something real? Between a successful businessman and a homeless girl he had literally hit with his car? The truth in music that night. Claire could not sleep. She kept replaying Olivia's words, examining every interaction with Nathan through a new, darker lens of suspicion. Had his kindness been genuine? Or was she just the latest charity case that made him feel better about himself and his wealth? Around midnight, she heard the piano playing downstairs. Nathan was in the formal living room, and the melody was heartbreaking, full of longing and deep regret. Claire found herself walking toward the sound. Drawn by a force she could not resist or understand, Nathan sat at the piano in the darkness, illuminated only by the city lights streaming through the tall windows. His fingers moved over the keys with surprising skill and emotion, playing a piece Claire recognized as one his mother had loved. "I did not know you could play," she said softly from the doorway. Nathan's hand stilled on the keys. "My mother taught me when I was young. After she died, I stopped completely. Until you came here and filled this empty place with music again." Claire entered the room slowly, her heart pounding. "Nathan, I need to know the absolute truth. Am I just another woman you're trying to save to feel better about yourself?" He turned to face her fully, and the vulnerability in his expression took her breath away completely. "Come here, please." Claire approached until she stood beside the piano bench. Nathan reached for her hand, his touch gentle and warm. "I won't lie to you, Claire. After Olivia, I did throw myself into helping others because it was easier than dealing with my own pain and loneliness. But you," he pulled her down to sit beside him on the bench. "From the moment I saw you in the rain, something was different. It was not just wanting to help someone in need. It was wanting to know you, to hear your story, to be near you and learn who you really are." Olivia said. "You discard women when they heal," Claire whispered, searching his face. Olivia does not know what she's talking about anymore. "The women I helped before found their own paths and moved on naturally with their lives. We parted as friends, not because I discarded them like broken toys." Nathan's thumb traced gentle circles on her palm. "But with you, the thought of you leaving feels unbearable. That's how I know this is completely different." Claire searched his face in the dim light. "I'm falling for you, Nathan, and it scares me so much because we're from such different worlds. You're successful and wealthy, and I'm nobody with nothing. You're not nobody." Nathan's other hand cupped her cheek tenderly. "You're talented, resilient, and kind. You're Claire Bennett, who chose to chase her dreams rather than accept another prison. You're the woman who brought music back into my life, who made me remember how to smile, how to hope for something more than just work. But what if Olivia is right? What if you wake up one day and realize I was just a phase or a mistake? Then I'll spend every day, until that impossible day, proving her wrong." Nathan leaned closer, his breath warm against her lips. "Claire, I have not felt this way about anyone since before Olivia destroyed my ability to trust another person. You've done something I didn't think was possible anymore. You've made me want to try again, to risk my heart again." Claire's resistance crumbled like sand. She closed the distance between them, pressing her lips to his in a kiss that felt like coming home after a long journey. Nathan responded immediately, his arms encircling her as the kiss deepened. Years of loneliness and pain melted away in the warmth of genuine connection and hope when they finally pulled apart. Both were breathless and smiling. Nathan rested his forehead against hers tenderly. "Stay with me," he whispered into the quiet room. "Not as my assistant, not as my charity case. Stay with me as the woman I'm falling in love with." Sophie's heart soared and shattered simultaneously at Nathan's words. "I want to stay more than anything. But I need to know this is real. I need time to trust that I'm not just fooling myself about us." "Then take all the time you need," Nathan said, though the disappointment in his eyes was clear and painful. "I'm not going anywhere. I'll wait as long as it takes." But fate, it seemed, had other plans for them both. 2 days later, Claire was leaving Nathan's building to pick up lunch when a familiar voice stopped her cold in her tracks. Well, well. If it is not little Claire playing dress-up in expensive clothes like a princess, Claire turned to find Victoria standing on the sidewalk, her expression twisted with malice and bitterness. Her stepmother looked older and harder than Claire remembered, the years of anger and resentment etched deeply into every line of her face. "How did you find me?" Claire asked, forcing her voice to sound steadier than she felt inside. "Did you really think you could just disappear into thin air? I have friends in this city, people who owe me favors and keep their ears open." Victoria stepped closer, and Claire caught the stale scent of cigarettes and cheap perfume. "When I heard you were working for Nathan Pierce, living in his fancy building, I could not believe my luck had finally turned." "What do you want from me?" Claire asked, though she already knew the answer. "The confrontation you owe me, Claire. Your father would have wanted you to help support me in my retirement years." Victoria's voice was hard and demanding. "I raised you, fed you, kept a roof over your head. Now it's time you paid me back for all those years." "You owe me nothing," Claire said firmly, finding strength she did not know she possessed. "You sold everything my father left for me, including my mother's piano and jewelry. You made my life miserable for 9 long years. I'm done with you forever." Victoria's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You think your rich boyfriend will protect you from reality? Men like him don't stay with girls like you, sweetheart. You're a novelty, a plaything, a project. When he gets bored, you'll come crawling back to me, and I won't be so forgiving next time. She won't be coming back to you ever again." Both women turned to find Nathan standing behind them, his expression absolutely arctic. Claire had never seen him look so dangerous and powerful. "I presume," Victoria said, attempting a false smile. "I'm Claire's stepmother. We were just having a private family discussion." "You're nothing to Claire but a bully and a thief," Nathan said coldly, each word like a blade of ice. "And if you ever come near her again, if you so much as think about her or try to contact her, I will ensure that every detail of your life is examined by lawyers, so thoroughly that you'll wish you had never heard the name Claire Bennett. Do I make myself absolutely clear?" Victoria paled visibly, her false confidence crumbling. "You can't threaten me like that. That was not a threat. It was a promise. Us." Nathan moved to stand beside Claire, his hand finding hers and holding tight. "Leave now and never come back." After Victoria scurried away like a frightened animal, Claire sagged against Nathan, the confrontation leaving her shaken and emotionally drained. He held her close, his hand stroking her hair with infinite gentleness. "You did not have to do that," she whispered against his chest. "Yes, I did. Nobody threatens what's mine." He pulled back to look at her face, his eyes intense. "If you'll let me protect you and care for you." That is, choosing love. Claire looked up at him, seeing not just the powerful businessman, but the wounded man who had also lost so much and built walls around his heart. Olivia's poisonous words lost all their power in the face of this moment, this choice before her. "I'm yours," she said simply, her voice clear and certain. "And you're mine, if you'll have me with all my flaws and fears." Nathan's kiss was his answer, fierce and possessive and tender all at once. When they finally pulled apart, Claire saw her future reflected in his hazel eyes. It was uncertain and potentially complicated, but undeniably real and worth fighting for. That evening, they talked for hours, addressing every doubt and fear that lingered between them. Nathan told her about his life after his mother's death, about building his company from absolutely nothing, about Olivia's betrayal and the 3 years of emotional isolation that followed her deception. Claire shared her own deepest fears about being enough, about belonging in his world, about losing herself in someone else's life and dreams. "Building a future together, I don't want you to lose yourself," Nathan said as they sat together on the couch. Claire curled against his side. "I want you to find yourself and flourish. Pursue your music with everything you have. Build your own career and identity. I'll support you however I can, but this is not about you becoming part of my world. It's about us creating a new world together as equals." Claire felt tears of relief and joy sliding down her cheeks. "I love you, Nathan Pierce. I love you with my whole heart." "I love you too, Claire Bennett." He kissed her forehead tenderly. "And tomorrow, I'm going to prove it to you." The next morning, Nathan took Claire to the Boston Music Conservatory, where he had arranged an audition for her with the vocal program director. Claire's voice, raw and emotional and beautiful, earned her a full scholarship on the spot. The director said her voice had a quality that could not be taught, only nurtured and developed. Over the following months, Claire threw herself into her studies while continuing to work part-time as Nathan's assistant. She discovered a talent and passion she had almost given up on, performing in student recitals in small venues around the city. Nathan attended every single performance, always sitting in the front row with flowers and unwavering support. A proposal of forever 6 months after their first meeting, Nathan took Claire back to the exact street corner where they had collided. It was a beautiful spring evening, the city alive with possibility and new beginnings. "This is where my life truly began," Nathan said, taking her hands in his. "The moment I saw you in the rain, something broken inside me started to heal. You taught me that walls don't protect us, they imprison us. You showed me that love is worth the risk of pain." He dropped to one knee, pulling a velvet box from his pocket. Inside was a simple but elegant ring with a single diamond that caught the streetlight. "Claire Bennett, will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life proving that you are not a project or a phase, but the love of my life and my equal partner in everything?" Claire could barely see him through her tears of joy. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. When Nathan slipped the ring on her finger and stood to kiss her, a small crowd of passers-by burst into applause. Claire laughed through her tears. Feeling happiness so complete it seemed impossible that her life had once been so dark and hopeless, full circle 1 year later. Claire stood on the stage of Boston's historic Symphony Hall, about to perform her first major solo concert. The auditorium was packed with music lovers, critics, and supporters. But Claire only had eyes for one person in the audience. Nathan sat in the center of the front row, exactly where he always sat, his face glowing with pride and love. Beside him sat her new circle of friends from the conservatory, fellow musicians who had become like family to her. As Claire began to sing, her voice soaring through the concert hall with power and emotion, she thought about the journey that had brought her here, from the rainy street corner where she had nothing, to this moment where she had everything that mattered. She had escaped a prison of cruelty and found not just freedom, but love, purpose, and a true home in Nathan's arms. He had helped her find her wings, and she had helped him remember how to fly. When the final note of her performance faded and the audience erupted in thunderous applause, Claire looked at Nathan and saw tears streaming down his face. He was not ashamed of them. He stood and applauded louder than anyone, his love for her written clearly across his face for everyone to see. After the concert, as they drove home through the Boston streets, Claire reached for Nathan's hand. "Thank you," she said softly. "For what?" Nathan asked, bringing her hand to his lips. "For seeing me when I was invisible, for believing in me when I had stopped believing in myself, for loving me when I felt unlovable." Nathan pulled the car over and turned to face her fully, his eyes serious and tender. "Claire, you saved me just as much as I saved you, maybe more. You taught me that a life without love, without risk, without opening your heart, is not really living at all. You are not my project or my charity case. You are my partner, my love, and my greatest adventure." They kissed as the city lights twinkled around them. Two broken people who had found each other in the darkness and built something beautiful together in the light, and as they drove toward the home they now shared, Claire knew with absolute certainty that she had found where she truly belonged. Not in a place, but in the heart of a man who had shown her that sometimes the most unexpected collisions lead to the most beautiful destinations. Their story was just beginning, and the future stretched before them full of endless possibility, boundless love, and the sweet music of two hearts beating as one.